So, I'm still in the void, but I figured out a few things. I'll fill you in on the details. I addressed the void and asked it a question. Any clothes from, say, the 1900s? I spoke into the darkness, and to my surprise I heard a faint sound, pleasant but singular. And shortly after, a strange mannequin appeared in front of me, shifting into view, void stuff falling off of it until it stood on its own. Almost. No, it must be my imagination, but it appeared to twitch a little. I remarked on the suit that it wore. What a suit, and all red, no less. What the mannequin wore was an early 1920s all-red business suit, almost exactly my size. This will do nicely. I chuckled as I took the clothes from the mannequin, and promptly ran off afterwards. Thanks. I thought it best to be polite, though I felt a little uneasy, as it's not every day one sees something like that. As quickly as I could, I got dressed. After, I tried telling the void that I was finished, and that I wanted to go back, wherever back was. All of the clothing racks faded from view, as that now familiar wave of void stuff engulfed me. The sensation is still quite alien to me, but it deposited me back to, well, I guess it brought me back to the room which I first arrived, if you could indeed call it a room. That's it, I'll try to summon Colcifer, I grumbled aloud. I focused on that nearly audible hum that was now within me, and I called out for Colcifer. Colcifer, I summon you to my side. I felt my summons reach her. Hello. Colcifer popped into the void at my side. Huh, would you look at that? We're inside of a Nexus. Neat. Had any strange visitors, John? I was relieved to see her, and even more so when she seemed to know where we were. Visitors, nope. I think I found, She slightly slapped my arm and exclaimed, Hey, looking sharp, Johnny boy. These threads look familiar, though. Where'd you get 'em? I smiled at her remark. I was saying, it's been about 15 minutes since I got here, but I was just falling for a while, and when I said out loud that I wanted a floor, well, you're standing on it. And as for the clothes, I said that I wished that I had some clothes, and I was transported to a gigantic closet. You called this place a Nexus. She clapped excitedly a couple of times. Oh, this is great news. You said 15 minutes had passed. Approximately 1.5 minutes had passed on Earth before you summoned me here, meaning that for every 10 minutes here, only 1 minute passes on Earth. You're very lucky. I looked at her and I understood every word that she had spoken, but I couldn't work out why she said I was lucky. Lucky in what way? She held up 3 fingers. 1. If you were unlucky, you could have ended up in a place exactly opposite of this, where every minute was 10 minutes on Earth. Do the math on that. It would be 100 minutes of your life that you would have lost for every 10 minutes on Earth. 2. You've gained almost 20 minutes. I'll let that one sink in. And 3. I believe this particular Nexus has belonged to one of your ancestors, and it seems to respond to your commands. Though we could always test out that theory. She grinned, took a breath, and said, Nexus, target John here and break his legs. A slow, discordant tone sounded from the void. Colcifer, what the heck? I yelled for obvious reasons, and yet nothing broke my legs. In fact, I noticed that I felt pretty good. Lighter, maybe. See? It refused my command, but I really wanted to see it with my own eyes. Give it a command. Oh, I'll give it a command. Restrain her, I said calmly, merely looking at her. That same agreeable high tone sounded, as to both of our surprise, 20 big hands formed of void stuff, appeared all around her and grabbed her. 10 around her waist, 1 on each arm, wrist, ankle, one on the back of her neck and one covering her mouth. No, she looked shocked for all of 2 seconds, and that's when a look of hot anger crossed her face. John. Colcifer's voice boomed as each hand burst into crackling golden flames and withered away into nothing but silver sparks. Barely a moment before the last hand withered, 40 more void hands slammed into her and restrained the fallen angel. Restrained was a poor choice of words, as she cried out again in an otherworldly voice. Stop now! Her crimson wings spread out and she incinerated all 40 of them with minimal effort. Crap, Nexus, stop. Cancel my previous order to restrain her. The smoldering hands released her, dropping her to the ground. The hands melted back into the Nexus. Colcifer, are you alright? She stuck the landing, hit her wings again, and brushed herself off. Perfectly fine, Johnny boy. Something like that couldn't hold me. I just hate being restrained against my will. I'll get you back for that, so be on your guard. Hey, you asked to see for yourself. Anyway, what even caused me to end up here? She stood with her arms crossed, pouting a bit. Why should I tell you? You didn't even apologize. Manners are always worth a try. I apologize. Now will you please forgive me? She laughed a delicate little laugh, obviously amused. I'm sorry, John. I'll forgive you. But I'm afraid you still got some payback coming from me. We'll save that for another day. But for now, I'll clue you in. This Nexus is fairly new. New by an angel's perception. But it was made almost 2,000 years ago. The oldest parts of it anyway. Some parts are newer than 1,000 years. What I have gathered so far is that this is a part of your inheritance. This could be a real game changer, I thought, and so I listened to the rest of her explanation. You gained access to this place the moment your magic was awakened, and you cast a spell for the first time, meaning that your ancestor meant for the descendants to find this place. You likely used up all of your mojo while tossing that purple fireball, and were transported here. Now, it's normal for mortals to accidentally blow all of their magical load on their first spell, and then pass out. Now, to the interesting part, which is, this Nexus seems to be open for only 3 Earth hours a day. So you're saying that I can only stay here for 3 hours at a time? I said nothing of the sort. You can stay here as long as your provisions last. But the portal to and from the Nexus only stays open for 1 hour at a time on Earth. On Earth, it opens from 7 AM to 8 AM, 3 PM to 4 PM, and then 10 PM to 11 PM. Have you done the math on what staying here from 7 AM to 3 PM would look like? That's 70 hours, give or take, about 3 days inside the Nexus. She went on to explain that the Nexus itself is comprised of recycled spirit particles from Earth, and though it harvests a great deal of those particles, it's been dormant and therefore hasn't been storing energy for some time now. According to her, this place has walls, floors, and even other rooms, but rendering colors and textures consumes energy. Every order given to the Nexus takes some energy, but the Void is a space between realms, a place where angels fought back against cosmic horrors, and made the Nexus as a stopper to naturally occurring holes between the Void and Earth realm, serving also as outposts to keep watch over the Elder Things. These old ones, thusly titled because their age is unknown even to the Archangels. These eldritch beings are widely accredited among Earth's considerably younger supernatural population to be the cause of roughly 50% of all nightmares, and even as much as 25% of suicidal thoughts. We decided to come back another time, after gathering more supplies. I was definitely looking forward to experimenting with my newfound bastion, and we could even use this place to train and practice for the coming confrontation in 9 months. So, I can do magic now? I asked Colcifer. Not much more than minor prestidigitation, and that purple fireball from before. It represents the current sum of your destructive capabilities, and it fizzled out before it could do any kind of damage. Do you feel like you could make another fireball? Though I felt stronger than usual here in the Nexus, I didn't know how to translate that feeling into anything substantial, but I tried anyway. A zit, and the spell fizzled. I was going for a gout of flames, but it seemed I was out of juice. I tried again after a few minutes of brief meditation. It managed a few purple sparks dripping off of my fingertips and dissipated before hitting the featureless floor of the Nexus. Unless your goal is to be a magician at a children's party, that's not gonna cut it. Rest up and we can practice after school tomorrow. I was out of options. From here, I could command the Nexus to open the portal home, but once there, it required a substantial amount of magic to open it again. Although this place was far from having a cozy atmosphere, I couldn't put my finger on what was so uncomfortable about it. I thought about magic theory, and so after I crunched some numbers, I pitched an idea to Colcifer. "Hey, Colcifer," I addressed her as she seemed to be examining the opaque floor. "Nexus, 2 chairs and a small table." The chairs and table appeared in front of us, and I motioned for her to have a seat. She tried to push the chair forward a bit, but it was as if it were connected to the floor. I was impressed, but it seems that you have some kinks to work out of the commands. Anyways, what's on your mind, John? I pushed my chair forward with ease. Well, I was thinking, now that we potentially have taken advantage of the time flow differences between the Void and Earth, maybe you could teach me a bit about magic theory. Fair point. But we're skipping theories and stylistic approaches, and how about we jump straight into magic mechanics? Theories can go on forever, but might never be useful. The mechanical function of magic, on the other hand, is useful information. Let's start with what you are. We won't get bogged down on all the little details. But for starters, you don't receive any of your magical abilities from me. On a metaphysical level, if you could see how I can see, all I did for you was to show you the first 3 doors of arcane magics. Door 1 can be accessed by devout followers of strict arcane or eldritch teachings. Demon deals are another way. Think of Faust. You know D&D. Warlock pacts with eldritch beings. Archdemons and older beings are another way, though far, far more risky. Houdini opened the first door, but he had extensive training. He wasn't a natural talent. Now, David Copperfield was a natural, no training. The humor here is, he thought street magic was fun, tried his hand at it one day, and actually performed real magic after he messed up a trick, and teleported his rabbit to an unknown location. Sometime magic bunches up like that, and he was so close to the second door magic that he was practically knocking on it. We'll call him a lesser sorcerer. And the final first door in summary, imagine it's like asking politely for the universe to do a small favor, and it usually comes through. She went into further detail about the minute details of how to perform the essential basics of the first door. From what I gathered, it covers true magicians, illusionists, and psychics. I'm sure I'll need a refresher someday on a lot of what we covered. After she finished our lesson on the crude mechanics of magic, we did the math and figured that we had time for an intro to the realm of the second arcane door. She began. If you picture the first door as a padlocked tool shed, then picture the second door as a metal door with a combination lock. This lesson dug into useful shortcuts and energy costs. I think that I understood it correctly, but I asked to be sure. The second door holds rituals, spells with much longer durations, curses, persistent sensory illusions, minor conjuring and protective wards. So, proper sorcerers, witches, Wiccans, wizards, and warlocks, and how practice leads to larger arcane energy reserves. She slammed her hand down on the table. I said much more than that. For a teacher, you do a poor job of summarizing, John. I grit my teeth, thought about flipping the table, but decided to take this moment to practice controlling my anger. What did I miss? I asked her. You missed the how to do these things. Gather energy, and with it, you suggest with it to the universe that the desired effects are what should happen. Fire, frost, electricity, all of these are examples of simple energy transferals. One more thing I'll teach for now. How to make wards, specifically protective wards, are things such as magic circles, which usually place you in a cylinder of stasis. If your enemy is physical, spiritual, demonic, or divine, you must design the proper ward to protect against them. We use physical symbols to do this, and the reason we use circles around certain symbols is to keep that symbol protected from outside influences, such as being destroyed or inverted. Imagine if you tried to ward yourself against a demon without a hardline ward. Instead, you chose a mentally crafted ward. If someone manages to plant a suggestion in your mind, even for a second is all it would take to dismantle your mentally crafted ward. By then, the damage will have already been done. When we finish our training in these 9 months, you'll be slinging lightning, hurling high-speed fireballs, and performing feats you've yet to see even in the most magic-forward movie. Or you'll be a drooling sack of bones, with not an ounce of sanity left. I'll end today's lesson with this. The third door holds secrets only hinted at in legends, horror stories, and ever so vaguely seen in some human media. Not just anyone can access such dangerous, cosmic spells. That ritual which I performed for you, it has unlocked that door for you, but it remains closed until you are ready. You held these keys deep in your DNA. I have rewoken that part of you. Something I should have done when we met thousands of years ago. Anyway, you may open it someday. In fact, if you wish to save Sandy, you better make it sooner rather than later. I sat in stunned silence. She had mentioned it before, but come to think of it, I have had visions of a past life, perhaps of that time. In Germania, the 1st century, I only remember being with a woman. Was it Colcifer? She seemed to be fleeing with me, and we were both being attacked in my villa, which overlooked a seaside cliff. I remember several tall figures in dark robes, veiled hoods obfuscating their faces from view. They were cultists or some deity or something. The rest of what the vision showed me was that we fled by way of a hidden waterslide, which I disguised to appear as a sewage pipe. But was that really me? Colcifer, let's get out of here. Nexus, transport Colcifer and I to my house. With the warping of opaque void covering us from head to toe, we appeared in the living room of my house, vestiges of the Nexus sloughing off of us and disintegrating into nothing. Say, do you always go to your pocket dimension when you're not with me? And what are those faces I see in the shadows sometimes? You used to loiter around in the shadows, posing as some type of fear demon, right? Oh, that place. I just go there to think sometimes. It was a parting gift from a dearly departed friend. And as for those faces, they too were dear friends of mine, now enduring a long suffering. She walked towards the door. Don't get me wrong, I do love playing the clingy, overprotective type. But I'm a fallen angel, Johnny boy. If you trust me, then all is well. But I have other matters to attend to, so I'll see you tomorrow. After she left, I got some rest. I dreamt of many things, of the faces in the shadows twisting with agony. I dreamt of the ritual, and the wordless song of angelic chords which Colcifer sang to me in 3 voices at once. In my dreams, I saw her in her true form with crimson wings, eyes of amber flame, and her broken halo like a crown atop her perfect form. When the ritual of awakening played again in my head, I saw it from a different angle. At the junction of each circle's end and another's beginning, I saw Colcifer whispering something. She had completed the first circle, but I couldn't hear what was whispered. The song she sang rang as clear as day through this whole dream. As she neared the completion of the second circle, the point of view shifted again, closer to her. and I could almost make out what she said as she completed the second circle. I felt as if I was in front of her face, but it was like she was looking through me, too focused on completing my awakening. And then I heard it. I heard what she said as if my dream put everything else on mute. "Awaken, awaken, awaken, my Ithiel." The dream exploded into silver sparks and purple flames, and my consciousness was sent hurtling through scenes from memories I've never experienced. Catching only brief glimpses, but every image was fractured. The last thing I saw before waking up was the 3 doors of magic, all opening to reveal a wall built of black bricks with gold mortar and bloodstains. I had all of 2 seconds to see the wall before a single brick fell out of the wall and an unseen force pushed me back behind door 2 and closed door 3. I awoke from the dream in a sweat. I had been passed out on my couch from 8 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Try as I might, the only part that stayed clear in my memory was the mysterious name, Ithiel. How can a name be mysterious and yet still feel familiar? I went to Google for answers, and as one does, I got hundreds of useless results. I read through many of them within the following 30 minutes, but the 2 most interesting results pointed to Ithiel either being the only angel in all of heaven who knows God's true word and intentions, and Ithiel being a Prometheus type of figure. The computer froze. What great timing. I tried refreshing the page and unfreezing it, but that last page seemed to have disappeared. I didn't even get to finish reading it. I shut my laptop and I headed to the kitchen to make a grilled cheese sandwich. In no time, I had perfectly toasted and buttered 2 pieces of bread with a couple of slices of cheddar cheese melted between them. I sat down at the dining room table and enjoyed the toasted, gooey, cheesy goodness. All the fancy food in the world just doesn't hit the same as a grilled cheese when you're really in the mood for one. Savoring the last bite, I looked at the time to see that it was about 4:15 p.m., and Sandy would be home pretty soon. I put my dish in the sink, along with the pan and spatula, and that's when it hit me. I looked at the clock and then looked at the sink. To my horror, it was full of dirty dishes. "I forgot the dishes," I exclaimed to my still empty house. And despite every bone in my body urging me to either hide the dishes under the sink, or to try and make a spell to get the dishes clean, I did it the hard way. I got to scrubbing. It was a grueling 15 minutes and it felt like a whole hour, but eventually all of my dishes were clean. Phew, crisis averted, mission accomplished. Wait, what was that smell? God, it was me, and man was I ripe. I hopped into the shower, observing basic hygiene, because who doesn't appreciate basic hygiene? I got dressed and I started working on a lesson to teach for my subject at school the next day. I heard the keys jingle at the door just as I had finished the title of my lesson. "John, I'm home," Sandy called out. "On my way, love," I replied. I've been through a lot of supernatural mess for her, and I don't mind it one bit. She makes it all worth it. I gotta greet her with a big hug, picking her up and spinning her once. "I'm happy to see you too." "How was your day, babe? Did you get anything done?" I grinned. "You know me, hon. I just started on my lessons for tomorrow and I remembered to do the dishes. I was just feeling lazy today. How do you feel about me cooking up some chicken?" I expected her to jump at the offer, but she gave my arm a light squeeze and said, "Oh, well, I already had dinner with a few friends on my way back." I looked at the time and sure enough, she was about 30 minutes later than usual. No big deal. "Oh well, I hope it was at least half as yummy as my grilled cheese." "Yeah, it was tasty." She smiled as she headed off to get out of her uniform. It turned out to be a fairly uneventful night, as we mostly just watched some shows on redacted flicks and chilled. On a side note, I strongly considered trying to cast a summons to the Nexus just after Sandy fell asleep, but I figured that I should save my energy for proper training with Colcifer tomorrow afternoon. I'm gonna try and get some proper rest. I had a pretty normal first day back, almost a regular Tuesday. But Wednesday, I was a bit sneaky. Today, I told Colcifer that I wanted a day off to let what we had studied sink in, and to get some rest. That was a lie, and as if she had expected it, she didn't let on that she did. Besides, we had worked hard on Saturday, plus all day Sunday and Monday. I told both Sandy and the school that I was feeling sick, so I would be staying home. Another lie. As soon as Sandy left for work and Colcifer slipped away to go do whatever it is a fallen angel does, when they aren't stalking or tempting you, I went to the kitchen, dug into my pantry, and fished out a few old MREs to eat, as well as a few 1-liter bottles of water, and put it all in my big, well-worn black and red hiking backpack. I brought a sleeping bag as well, along with my newly completed grimoire. Oh, and I brought a normal notebook as well. I drew a faint circle of chalk around myself and my duffel bag of extra supplies. This helped me to focus my energy for my next move. I reached out with just a small fraction of my energy, glanced at the clock one more time. It read 7:01 a.m. And then I called out, lights flickering and dimming. Nexus, ready dimensional transport in 3. I had enough supplies for 3 days. 2. I've got to make this count for something. 1. Okay, Nexus, bring me in. Swirling darkness, a feeling of being drowned in nothingness. And then silence. If you're getting this message, then sweet, because it means that I survived the dimensional jump. First time intentionally hopping through the void into the Nexus. My bastion, my ace in the hole. Nexus, do you remember Colcifer? 40 units could not contain her. Would 60 units suffice? The Nexus sounded a disagreeable tone. Would 80 units suffice? The same sound but louder than before. Well, what would be able to contain a fallen angel? A hum. It sounds like you know. Okay then show me. The Nexus responded with a single note, very similar to a violin. And a couple of seconds later, an ornately designed, luminescent circle of silver light, with intersecting triangles and strange glyphs, shimmered to life 15 steps in front of me. I walked up to it, and it was magnificent. I carefully reached out to touch the wall of light emanating from the circle. It felt warm, and sounded as if it were emitting a constant humming sound. Colcifer taught me to be careful, though my fear is lost to me. I recognize danger. Am I to blindly trust her? She told me that I should trust her, but she also said that it's foolish to blindly trust anyone, especially when souls are involved. She's a friend and she's really starting to grow on me. But what does she want from me? Why help me? I don't know enough, and she's not volunteering any extra info. It sucks, but if nothing else, I would impress her for being well prepared. Worst case scenario would be me, desperately unprepared. Over the next 2 days in the Nexus, I ran tons of experiments, added color to the floors of the Nexus to be graystone textured. I tinkered with the opacity of one wall and named it to the observation area. I learned that this place seemed to have a view of the stars. No familiar constellations or strange debris. It was unnerving, and felt like every star that I gazed at also gazed at me. When I felt that, I turned the observation area opaque again. For all of its mystical and arcane origins, the Nexus functioned similarly to a giant supercomputer with minimal yet intuitive AI. Only its occasional sounds kept me company throughout these days. The rest was pure solitude. On the 3rd day, I set up a series of shortcut command phrases, some for emergencies, some for convenience. In the other, I had no way of knowing whether they worked or not, but I hoped to never find out. I wrote down the commands in my notebook, and took the time to sketch a few of the different words that I had learned from experimenting with the Nexus, and I put them into my grimoire. I got a sense that I still wasn't able to generate enough juice to make them on my own. Maybe it's just that feeling of being watched. I get it every time that I'm here, but at first I had felt guilty, like I wasn't being a good friend. but I convinced myself that I'm not actually plotting against Colcifer, and that I was simply covering my bases. She might even be proud. That thought made me feel a lot better, for a little while anyway. But as my window for leaving in time for the 3 p.m. opening drew nearer, I was reminded that the Nexus, while truly an invaluable asset, stayed where it was. All the way in another dimension. Humbling as that is, at the end of the day, I am just a man and I always have been. The Nexus would only ever be available for 3 out of 24 hours. It was a sobering reality check. 21 hours of every day. I was still just an amateur sorcerer, and that's all that I'd ever be without Colcifer's help. It looks like it's about time for me to get back home. Hey, do me a favor and keep this between us, alright? I'm going to trust Colcifer, but she doesn't need to know about my 3-day dive into the Nexus. I'm not sure when I'll be able to update you on my progress, but I'll keep track of the important stuff. I made it back home safely, took a shower, and got dressed. For those of you who are wondering if this marks the end of my struggle, mark my words, my story isn't over until I've either breathed my last or succeeded in stopping the darkness coming for Sandy in 9 months. 9 months, you don't think Sandy's pregnant, do you? I mean, 9 months away is a very specific deadline. Besides, Colcifer had a strange smirk when she told me, "Oh god, no effing way." Sorry, I just can't believe I didn't piece it together sooner. I'll look into it ASAP. As always, thanks for listening. It's good to know that somebody knows what I'm going through. Keep an eye on the shadows, and if you feel like something is keeping an eye on you, it never hurts to, well, it might not hurt to see if it's just your imagination.